What hard truth about the auto repossession industry do finance companies, forwarders, consignors, and auctions need to hear? What's the first thing you would change in auto recovery and why? We talked about it at Used Car Week, and the conversation continues to grow. What role do you play? What info do others need to know? This is ATI, where you can talk about this stuff. So please say hello, make new friends, grow your network, and learn from the best on ATI Auto Business. What's up, ecosystem? Welcome back to ATI Auto Business, Automotive Ecosystem, where everyone learns more about the automotive industry. Let's get started with top industry news and headlines that include Trump to cancel USPS EV fleet upgrade, why GM is exiting robotaxis, and Amazon Autos car shopping in 48 states. At the quarter hour, we got Dave Sutton and Renee Lowe joining us with the Transporting Recovered Vehicles Workgroup. And then the panel begins at the half hour with Mark Sums, Marcus Potter, and Tara McLean. Please do say hello in the live chat. Thank you so much. What's up, YouTube? What's up, LinkedIn? It's show 377 in a row on a Tuesday night on Automotive Ecosystem on ATI. And so last month at Used Car Week, we had the presentation, panel discussion, lenders moving repo cars, old habits die hard. The next day, Dave Sutton held a follow-up meeting, and we continued to talk about the facts and the problems in the auto recovery system. How do we reduce friction? And this is going to take a lot of folks to participate and acknowledge the grinding of the gears, and how do we get those things moving. So on tonight's show, again, we have Dave Sutton, coordinator of the Transporting Recovered Vehicles Workgroup, Renee Lowe, who was also on the panel, and then in our panel tonight, Marcus Potter, President, National Asset Recovery, and Mark Sums, President, owner, Sums, Skip, and Collateral, and Tara McLean, Fleet Lease Commercial Sales at DAA Little Rock, joining us. We say get to know your ecosystem. If you're not familiar with one part outside of your part, get to know the other parts. It will benefit you. You are in business. You plan to grow your business. And this is the ecosystem's neutral zone where you can say whatever you want. It is the automotive ecosystem on Tuesday nights, I'm proud to say. And last week we had, as a lean into NADA, Auto Hall Exchange was with me talking. We had some dealers on talking about how Auto Hall Exchange eases the pain for car dealers looking to have direct communication with carriers. Industry logistics last week. What did we do? I don't know. I'm so focused on this Thursday. Oh my gosh, another lawsuit. What are the allegations? Who are the parties? You're going to find out Thursday. I'll post it tomorrow. You're going to want to see this. All right, let's go ahead and get into some news. It's 4 minutes after delivering auto ecosystem news here on ATI Auto Business. So one of the big points in news today, U.S. EV charging infrastructure will continue to expand under Trump. There was a concern that it wouldn't, but new federally backed EV chargers will continue to appear along U.S. highways no matter which president sits in the Oval Office. The Biden administration's plan to line highways across the U.S. with federally funded EV chargers will remain in place once Donald Trump becomes president next month, say the experts. It would take almost an act of God for Trump or Congress to overturn the national EV infrastructure program. That's because much of the $5 billion that underpins the initiative has already been doled out to the states to help states create a network of public charging stations in 50-mile intervals along interstates. Has anybody seen many of those? Well, so Trump might cancel U.S. Postal Service electric mail truck contract. So, sounds incongruous. Trump's transition team is considering canceling the U.S. Postal Service's contracts to electrify its delivery fleet as part of a broader suite of executive orders targeting EVs. The move, which could be unveiled in the early days of Trump's administration, beginning on January 20th, is in line with his campaign promises to roll back Joe Biden's efforts to decarbonize U.S. transportation to fight climate change. Here's the kicker. They do apparently need a fleet upgrade, and since we're talking regular routes, is it that bad of an idea? They get the AC, they get the walking space. Do you have to go gas? I'm just saying. I'm asking the question because that's my job. I realize previously reported Trump killing the $7,500 consumer EV tax credit on purchases, but again, this is I don't know. Whatever. Trump's transition team is now reviewing how it can unwind the Postal Service multi-billion-dollar contracts, including with Oshkosh Corp and Ford, tens of thousands of battery-driven delivery trucks and charging stations. If they were working with Tesla, would it go through? Gotta ask the question. GM exiting robotaxis. Refocuses in the name of efficiency, which is interesting because robotaxis are happening, but GM is refocusing its strategy and capital. Executives look to become more efficient, in part by pulling back in some areas of business where it once saw massive potential. It will sell its stake in a battery plant under construction in Michigan to its joint venture partner LG Energy Solution. It intends to shut down its Cruise robotaxi business and pursue advanced driver assist technologies in personal vehicles rather than spend the resources needed to scale a fleet of self-driving vehicles, which is interesting because that seems like a play for ownership rather than a future of ride sharing. Because self-driving is still apparently on the table, GM effectively is giving leadership of the self-driving space to Waymo, which is now the only robotaxi company reaching meaningful scale in the U.S., and Tesla is looking to be their main competitor. GM also said it expects to save more than $1 billion annually, which really, I think that's the bottom line here. It's not the idea, it's the money. And there you go, man. Tesla robotaxi is going to give Waymo a run for its money, especially with political influence. Oh, that wasn't written. BYD is on track to top 2024 sales goal and outsell Ford and Honda. Who's BYD? Chinese EV. Chinese top EV maker BYD gained market share as the world's largest auto market, recorded its fastest growing month in 2024, setting up BYD to exceed its global annual sales goal and overtake Ford and Honda. I mean, they're shipping like boatloads, literally boatloads of BYD over to Europe. I wonder when it happens here. Aided by robust sales in China, BYD on course to top its annual sales target of 4 million vehicles, which would put it ahead of Honda and Ford. 4 million vehicles, just BYD? Look at this graph. China car production share went from 1% to 39% in 20 years. BYD. And this came out today. This is being talked about right now. Honda and Nissan begin to merger talks amid EV competition. BYD? Okay, I was watching a Cox presentation today, and here are the numbers for projections for next year. 16 plus million new sales, 13 plus new retail sales, 3 million fleet sales, new lease volume over 3, 25% lease penetration, 37 plus used sales, 20 mil used retail sales, 2.5% Manheim used vehicle value index gain. Everything but CPO is expected to rise next year. So that's great news. Amazon expands car shopping platform to 48 cities across the U.S. It's interesting. I said shipping. Freudian slip, because that could happen. We've said, what if Amazon gets into car shipping? Amazon is expanding the availability of its car shopping marketplace to consumers in 48 cities across the U.S., including LA, Atlanta, Dallas, Miami, New York. The platform, called Amazon Autos, will enable shoppers to browse, order, finance, and schedule pickup of a new Hyundai vehicle via the retail giant's familiar retail ecosystem. Hyundai is Amazon's launch partner, but expects to add more brands as the program grows. When the retailer is building the platform to facilitate new vehicle sales, Amazon said dealers will remain on the forefront of each transaction. Now that's interesting. I thought it would be more, that makes sense. It's a good call. Dealers are the sellers of record, so this is a new sales channel for them. They'll be able to list their inventory, get the benefit of the millions of Amazon customers. That makes it more like eBay. The online experience will drive happy customers to their dealerships, where they can build on that customer relationship from there in the vehicle ownership space. Now, what if this is just version 1 and version 2 or 3 looks more like Carvana Amazon-ish? Amazon said it plans to add more Hyundai dealerships, cities, and functionality that sets drives to the platform next year. Includes leasing, expanded financing options, banks, credit unions, captives. Current customers can only finance their vehicle through Hyundai Capital or pay cash, which is secured with an online deposit. That's now. Amazon said the addition of other brands will roll out next year. Like all Amazon sellers, dealers pay a listing fee to Amazon to sell their inventory through dealers participating in this part of the rollout and get their fee waived. The primary benefit of the platform is the trust and familiarity shoppers already have with Amazon. In theory, Amazon's user-friendliness will spill over into the car shopping experience. Amazon said customers will be able to search the inventory of local participating dealers by model, trim, and other features. Shoppers will also be able to secure financing and e-sign paperwork while completing an order with a few clicks. We're going to see so much Amazon Autos media. Oh my gosh. After finalizing payment info, customers schedule a time to pick up their vehicle. Schedule a time to pick up their vehicle. See where that goes. Vehicles listed for sale will have non-negotiable pricing, while dealers can modify pricing like other Amazon sellers. Once an interested buyer fills out a credit app or puts down a deposit, price is final. Trade-in valuation handled during checkout. A third party might be making assessments. Physical trade-in occurs at the dealership when you take your vehicle, possession of your vehicle. Interesting. Okay, hey, so CDK Tekion antitrust lawsuit. CDK says low on substance, high on rhetoric, which might mean there's a lot in there that's true. Okay. Allegedly. CDK Global said Tekion's federal antitrust lawsuit filed December 9th against the company is low on substance, high on rhetoric, and the software company claims the lawsuit was filed in retaliation for how it manages dealership management system security. The question is, as you begin to read it, which I just started reading this, I'm going to keep reading it. It is interesting. The statement did not elaborate on the cease and desist letter. Then they're going to war here. Tekion's lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court claims DMS market leader CDK unfairly prevents competition with other DMS players through how it handles franchise dealership client data. It's how it handles the data. Who owns the data? And that's part of the lawsuit. Tekion's lawsuit alleges that CDK abuses its ability to control access to data that belongs to the dealers. Whose data is it? Unbelievable. Let's see. Anyways, more about the lawsuit. We'll be diving into that. CDK's assertions are baseless. There's nothing unauthorized about a CDK customer accessing their own data, and the suggestion that we could have filed such a comprehensive, fact-intensive antitrust action within 3 days of CDK's threats is not credible. Our legal action aims to protect the automotive retail ecosystem from CDK's anti-competitive practices and uphold fairness in competition. This is where it gets interesting. On the one hand, is there a breach of data control? And on the other hand, is there an unfair competition environment? Who's to say? Well, this is where it comes down to legal argument. Literally comes down to how you argue your case. China resident who stole Tesla's trade secrets gets 2-year U.S. sentence. Don't do it. A German-Canadian resident of China was sentenced to 2 years in prison in the U.S. for stealing EV trade secrets from Tesla. for his competing EV battery business. Oh, yeah. See, you definitely can't do that. Klaus Flugbell, 59, pleaded guilty in June to conspiring with business partner Yilong Xiao to sell Tesla's battery manufacturing secrets to undercover FBI agents. Yeah, you don't want to do that either. In stealing trade secrets from an American EV manufacturer to use his own China-based company, Flugbell actions stood to benefit the People's Republic of China in a critical industry with national security implications. Ah, that's going to be another problem. Flugbell is a citizen of Germany and Canada, charged in New York. Prosecutors say he and Xiao built their EV battery business on trade secrets from a leading U.S.-based electric vehicle company. Prosecutors said Flugbell and Xiao's venture has locations in China, Canada, Germany, and Brazil that make the same battery assembly equipment as their previous employer. Yeah. It's going to be rough. And a former dealership employee to serve 18-month prison sentence for fraudulent lift kit selling scheme. Wow. Bob, former direct parts of service at Vermont dealership, sentenced to 18 months in prison, has to pay over $500,000 in restitution, and pleaded guilty to mail fraud involving the illegal sale of vehicle parts. He was, from January 2021 to September 22, purchased parts from Nissan North America, including vehicle suspension lift kits costing over $2,000, invoices directed to Formula Nissan. But then he would advertise the lift kits for sale on Facebook below wholesale cost. He sold over 200 kits. Payments to his PayPal. Now he's in a minimum security prison. Formula Nissan declined to comment. Privacy for cars thinks globally with new services and features. Privacy tech company Privacy for Cars announced launch a set of privacy services and features to support international expansion. The additions include 4 new languages, vehicle privacy app, European cloud portal for local clients with enhanced metrics and reporting capabilities, expansion of the company's vehicle privacy report website to cover Australian vehicles, support in Spanish, French, German, and Italian, along with customers in Canada, US, Australia, better accommodate diverse staff and varying infotainment system settings. Wow, good job, Privacy for Cars. That is pretty cool. And TruVideo got $40 million in growth investment. TruVideo, a provider of AI and augmented reality-driven communication technology for the transportation industry, I think it's automotive industry, has secured $40 million in equity. Company said strategic investment in fuel innovation, product development, customer service, market expansion. The focus is on communications technology, transformational effect on revenue, customer experience, for dealers, software partners, and OEM relationships. There we go. That's a big investment. So, co-founder, Chief Technology Officer Douglas Cristall said companies are integrating TruVideo's AI, AR, and video technologies into their platforms to improve how they deliver service and engage customers. Wow, that is really interesting stuff. So that is the news for tonight. I read it fast because, man, we had a lot. We're already 20 minutes in the show. ATI is where everyone learns more about how the automotive industry works. Get to know the full ecosystem. Do me a favor, right after this, we're going to be live with Dave Sutton and Renee Lowe, and we're going to dive into the Transporting Recovered Vehicles work group. Our conversation after our panel at Used Car Week. Stick around. We'll be right back after this.
Transport Auto Quoter is by far the leading auto quoting software on the market, and the only auto quoter with a pro version that comes preset with accurate pricing for anywhere in the U.S. So you don't have to worry about it. The best part is that no change with your current software is needed. Just plug TAQ in and start booking jobs. Carriers can easily plug TAQ into their current websites and start making money right away. I bet you're wondering how we do this instantly and accurately 24/7. Well, constant analytics is the key. Our PriceWatch team is constantly monitoring current market conditions, paying close attention to seasonal and quick-moving industry changes. At the end of the day, it takes a lot of time and data to maintain good pricing, time that most of us just don't have on a daily basis. So free yourself up. Using TAQ Pro is really a no-brainer. Save time and money, maximizing your leads and optimizing your online investments. You'll finally be able to sleep well at night knowing that TAQ is on the job selling for you 24/7. Never missing a potential job.
All right, we need to brainstorm for this commercial. How do we show our audience that we're the best auto transport platform in the industry?
Oh, we need to show them our dispatch manager. Optimizing routes has never been easier.
We should definitely show them our EDI management screen. Managing contracts is simple with ClearPath's EDI toolkit. Who doesn't want to work with the big manufacturers?
These are all great ideas, but we need to highlight what makes us special.
Sure, we can talk about all our awesome features, but the bottom line is we invest in every single one of our clients, giving them the power to scale up and increase their revenue.
That's perfect.
Auto Hauler Exchange has revolutionized the way vehicle haulers and vehicle shippers collaborate. The Exchange B2B marketplace connects vehicle haulers directly to shippers in a frictionless manner. The Exchange helps vehicle haulers maximize their capacity while eliminating empty miles. The Exchange is the first true B2B marketplace of its kind in the vehicle logistics industry. By connecting carriers and shippers directly, carriers can save time and choose which opportunities fit their needs each day. At the same time, shippers can rest assured that their vehicles are being moved by qualified, vetted carriers who fit their vetting program. The Auto Hauler Exchange has democratized the vehicle logistics industry by eliminating the middlemen and connecting shippers directly to available carriers.
Need a faster way to move vehicles? Draver has you covered. Whether you're an OEM, fleet, rental company, or a dealership, Draver's network of 20,000 contract drivers gets vehicles moved 75% faster. From valet services to delivery, repositioning, and auction moves, Draver handles it all. With insurance coverage and expert support, your logistics are in good hands. Ready to try with the Draver Now app. Testing out Draver services is simple. Download the app today, request a move, and experience how Draver can transform your logistics. Or contact us today to learn about our full suite of services.
How do you move a fleet of rental cars to different locations on the fly and you've only got 48 hours? You need a shockingly fast nationwide vehicle relocation platform. Visit draver.com. Links are in the live chat. All right, here we go. Please do help me wish a very warm welcome to Dave Sutton and Renee Lowe. Dave and Renee, can you see me and hear me okay?
Roger that. We're good.
See you fine and hear you
Mic
good.
Check, 1, 2. Okay. We're picking back up where we left off. Dave, please say hello and tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure, my pleasure. So Dave Sutton, I've been with Montway. I'm on year 5 now. Unbelievable. Montway Auto Transport out of Schaumburg, Illinois. We move a lot of cars for individuals and for companies. So hopefully some of our customers are listening to the show and some of our future customers are listening to the show. Prior to Montway, I was with Carfax for a decade and helped them develop some data products to trade within the wholesale remarketing space. And so you add that to my Montways, that's 15 years in the wholesale remarketing space. Prior to that, I was with Volkswagen Credit for 10 years. That's 25 years in the automotive wholesale remarketing space. And then before that, I was doing some things with IBM and consulting and strategy. And then prior to that, unbelievable, 14 years with General Motors. So you add it all up, and so I've been around the car business for a long time, and I've had a chance to work with a lot of great people. The work group that we had at Used Car Week is an extension of that. I just get lucky, man. I get involved in things such as moving recovered vehicles and seeing all the friction in it, and it's just frustrating because there's so many good companies, so many good people, and they all have a piece to the puzzle, but we don't know what the picture looks like or could look like. And so I know when we were preparing for that session, we came up with the kind of the grinding gears, moving slow and creaking, and the fact that it doesn't have to be that way. So that's what motivates me, making a difference, making change, and the opportunity to work with good people like we did at Used Car Week is beginning to understand more about one another's worlds. No one tries to do a bad job. Everyone tries to do their best job, given the information and the tools that they have, but it's insufficient unless we understand the adjacent verticals. So that in a nutshell is, what we did with the work group. It was round 2. We did the same thing last year. So we came back this year, slightly different mix of people, same quality conversation. And the hope is that we keep having these conversations more frequently, and we educate, we inform, we knock down these walls of ignorance. And ignorance, I just use as just unaware. It's not a bad thing. To be ignorant just means you just don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And thankfully, there's some leaders in the industry, in the auto finance side, in the recovery side, in the insurance side, in the auction side, who are willing to lay down their swords, as we use that analogy, and figure out, let's stop clashing with one another. Let's start listening to one another and working better. So I'm excited about the topic and excited to spend some more time with the group here. We've got a great panel.
Thanks so much, Dave. Appreciate you, buddy. Renee, please say hello and tell us a little bit more about you.
So I'm Renee Lowe. I am the Training and Education Coordinator for Harding Brooks Insurance. I have been involved in insuring repossessors in some form or fashion from the carrier side or now on the agency side for a little more than 20 years. And I always love to try to find ways for things to fit together. And I'm not shy about saying hi and asking questions and throwing out ideas. And you throw them to the right people, great things happen. So I'm just excited to have been part of the panel and to see this continue, because I agree with everything Dave said. There's just, after being on one of your shows, Dispatching Live, I think, and listening to Sue, I really got this whole new understanding of why that the auto transporters, were having issues with the repossessors and the repossessors with the auto transporters. And it's like, you guys got some of the same issues. And I think a little communication could fix that. So we've been trying to do that for the last 2 years.
Part of me is having a little bit of flashbacks to last month, being on stage, right? That was really interesting. And then, then the next day. Now, the notes you took the next day, Dave, I think you titled the notes, Transporting Recovered Vehicles Workgroup.
Yeah.
So I'm running with that name. That's a great, because the panel was called Lenders Moving Repo Cars, but now it's turned into Transporting Recovered Vehicles Workgroup, which that's part of what this is. This is an ongoing, living, organic attempt at communication.
And I purposely did not call us a committee because I hate committees.
Yeah.
Committees are agendas and meeting minutes and it's just drudgery. I never want to be on another committee in my life, but I'll sign up for work groups every day.
Work
group.
Well,
work group makes it, what I think it really is. Several different people and different sides working together to bring forth a change. I think it's an excellent name.
It is an excellent name and an excellent cause that, it almost seems like it can't be done. Like I imagine somebody who saw the marketing for the show and thought, that's not going to happen. Or you can't do that. Can it? Can things change?
I've been thinking about that a lot because, from my side, I'm really fortunate at Montway. I have full support all the way up to our chairman is work on this, make it better. This is important for us as a company, but important for the industry, for our customers and everyone who works in this space. And I don't think everyone's going to adopt it quickly. And no one's going to wake up January 1st in a couple of weeks and say, I'm healed, I understand now, I'm going to change and everything's going to be awesome. However, I do think that people who are part of that work group, people watching this or whatever, are going to start maybe shifting how they do things, start listening a little bit more and realizing that there's a better way to get things done, a more cooperative way to get things done. There's some great players in the space who have great data tools that they're only going to be as good as the inputs that we all touch and put into them. And I think their products and their services are going to improve because of feedback from this group and others adjacent to the group. There's still going to be some players, whether it's an auction, a finance company, a transport company, a recovery company, a forwarder, who are going to stay stuck in their own ways. They're going to say, our systems only allow us to do this. I'll only allow this. And yeah, that's fine. They can do however they want. And if that's a successful business model for them, And if they retain employees and they can be profitable, wonderful. God bless you. But I don't think so. I'm betting on the group of people who are going to move towards a new way. And the new way is one where it says, what can I do to not only optimize my processes, but where do I fit within the system? And how can the system work better? Because if you think about it, if we have a more efficient system, think about what that means. We'll start with the auto finance companies. Ideally, they would love for their customers to redeem the car and stay a customer of their finance products, etc. They don't have to go through all the expense of selling the car and all the other stuff. They do want to keep them in the car. So what things could they be doing to improve that? And then once they don't do that, what could they be doing to improve their coordination with their remarketing teams? That was kind of a big aha. We touched upon it last year, but this year is very much front and center. That said, within auto finance companies, there's got people involved in collections and repossessing vehicles. And then it's thrown over the wall to the remarketing team, who then picks it up wherever it's at, sometimes with incomplete or late or tardy information. And then their job is to then turn that asset into cash with a few asterisks and things around it. And so they do their best with what they have, the tools that they have, et cetera. And they're working with a very fragmented, collection of recovery yards. And that's a challenge. But because it's so fragmented, it doesn't mean it can't be improved. As a matter of fact, I think it screams to be improved. And then you have the transporters who are, or whoever fulfills that transportation function, moving the cars from the recovery yards to the auctions and doing that in a timely, efficient way, which frees up space on the recovery yards lots so that they can do more business and have more throughput, which they love, right? And then if the cars move quickly, you don't have canceled appointments and things work smoothly, it's great for the transportation companies. You don't have dry run fees, you don't have frustrated carriers, you have a much smoother process, you have fewer claims, and then it arrives at the auction in a timely way, so they're meeting the service level agreements that they have with the various financial consignors, and the cars are appropriately prepped and ready to put up for sale at the auctions. And then we do all over again. It's like a circus. But why wouldn't you want things to work smoothly? And I think the reason why is people are stuck in their own little, they've got their blinders on. And we need to take the blinders off and look at the adjacent verticals, learn from them, and work together cooperatively. It's not that difficult. It can happen. And I think the early adopters are already visible. I think a year from now, that group will double or triple in size. In 2, 3, 4 years from now, it's going to be the norm. We're going to have a much, much better and more efficient system. That's my vision.
Wow.
Maybe I'm crazy.
That was great.
I think your vision is awesome. And, you've got to start. If you don't start, it will never happen.
I was talking to Marcus Potter. We're going to bring them in here in a second. Earlier today, I was talking to Marcus, and hearing you say that, there's a transporter right now that's thinking, I wish I never knew about this repo load that ended up in front of me. I think that repossession loads in transportation should be more segmented, targeted to the carriers that are going to perform that in the way that the rest of the ecosystem needs. It's not for everybody. And it's okay to say that. Every repo load is not for every transporter out there. It's just not. And they don't know that. And it hasn't been talked about. I feel strange saying it, but it's true. And until we say some of these things and draw out, like I said to Marcus, I can't understand why is there a no key in op? Why does that even exist? Can't we get a key made? Again, I feel strange saying it. Like, you're bucking the trend, Jay. Of course we have no key in ops. We'll always have no key in ops, Jay. But why, I say? I don't get it. Because it really makes so many other parts harder.
It definitely makes everything harder. And, there's been a lot of conversation at some of the state association meetings about making keys, and more repossessors are getting trained to make the keys, and it's just excellent opportunity to make things go smoother if the lender will just approve to have the key made.
Okay, I never gave a warning, so I'm going to say, okay, gang, you're about to join. So mute that live stream or whatever you need to do, but feel free to continue to say hello in the live chat. All right, so here come the invites to Mark and Tara and Mark. You got 2 invites. Mark Sums got 2 invites tonight. But thanks for saying hello. Emily Hennings, James Cargo, Gary Agartho Logistics, and let's see who else we got here in the live chat. Oh, and with plenty of links. Thanks, Kimberly. Mark Sum says hello. James Cargo, Emily Hennings. And, you know, this is actually, I realize this, even just setting up the show tonight, is that there's got to be some folks that I think should be watching, but don't know that this would be helpful or informative to them. This is one of those things that it's going to take marketing on our part to explain why this is beneficial to so many folks in the ecosystem. Marcus, can you see us and hear us okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I see you. I hear you. Please say hello and tell us a little bit more about you.
Absolutely, Jay. I'm Marcus Potter. I'm with NAR Services. I've been in the repossession space for roughly 30 years. I have the opportunity now to sit on the American Recovery Association as a board of directors. I also sit on the Carolina Association as the vice president. I think it puts me in a unique place to be able to come to an environment such as this and give some perspective from the repossession space.
Thank you, Marcus. It's great to have you here. I referenced, we were talking earlier, right? Got a chance to talk before the show. Helps me get warmed up, remember everything we're doing. We have a lot of bullet points and a lot of different things to talk about. I've taken the stage. I said I don't want to do that. What is something that's relevant to what's happening right now, that an area that we could talk about? Hold that thought. Mark Sums. Mark, can you see me and hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Mark, please say hello and tell us a little bit more about you.
Oh, hello, everybody. My name is Mark Sums. I'm the owner of Sums Skip and Collateral Solutions based in Virginia Beach, Virginia. We was established in 1932 by my grandfather. I'm a 3rd generation repossessor. My kids are in the business. They are the 4th generation. We do repossessions. We're kind of a hybrid. We're a repo company that does forwarding, remarketing for our clients and transporting. So we assign out accounts throughout the country, and we also have boots on the ground here in Virginia Beach.
Thank you so much, Mark. Hey, Tara, can you see me and hear me okay?
Hi, Jay. Yep, I'm here.
Great. Please say hello. Tell us a little more about you.
I'm Tara McLean. I'm currently with Dealers Auto Auction in Little Rock. I've spent the last 14 years in the automotive industry with some big box, and prior to that, a little bit more in the dealer consignment world, working parts and wholesale parts and whatnot.
All right. Well, thank you, Tara. We'll get to some harder topics in a minute. I love the hard stuff, bringing the elephant out in the room. But I'll go to Mark. Mark, you were in the room after the panel discussion.
Yes.
Front and center. Will you share some takeaways from that meeting?
Well, I think a lot of the transporters and a lot of the clients had some aha moments as far as they didn't realize the logistics involved on releasing cars when the transporter comes and they're told that it's damaged, or the auction is advised of the damages, and they come with a 9-car hauler. They can't get that vehicle in there, or there's no keys. If the client does not authorize the keys, we can't make the keys. Sometimes the auction will advise, go ahead and get the keys made, we'll cover the cost, so the car can be driven out and loaded on the carrier. And a lot of the, when we have to deal with a situation where the client advises that the debtor is redeeming the vehicle and the auction is going to be transporting the vehicle back to us. They did not understand, and Renee was very, very good to assist on explaining to them that if we take a vehicle back on behalf of the client, we have to have written authorization, or if something should happen to that vehicle in our custody, there's no coverage for it. We've already released it. So it has to start all over again, new condition report, new photos, and everything logged in properly. Otherwise, there's no insurance coverage for it.
Renee?
Oh, well, Mark, I mean, there's a lot of different pieces involving the insurance that people, lenders and transporters aren't aware of. And, you know, it's important that transporters, you know, and lenders understand that to make sure that that vehicle's covered, the I's have to be dotted and T's have to be crossed. It's not just as simple as saying, oh, I've already signed the condition. I've already signed the release paper. I've got it. Oh, no, you take it back now. It's not like passing a hot potato. It's not that simple.
Okay, I'm going to read. There was a lot of notes. Okay. Did everyone get a copy of the notes?
Yep,
Tara,
I did.
I don't know if you said, Tara, did you see a copy of those notes? Okay. And are those notes available, Dave? If folks, right?
Yeah, it's I view it as shareware, and we made that very clear at the beginning of the meeting. Hey, we're going to document the meeting, document who was there, your contact info. We recorded the meeting. I transcribed the meetings as best I could. We're on version 2 of it. I made the mistake of getting Mr. Sum's phone number wrong, so I got that fixed for you, Mark. Maybe you don't want to have your phone number, but my view is that the document from last year was good. The document from this year, I think, is better. Collectively, I think we're starting to build a body of knowledge. In the 5 years where I went astray and I was not in the auto industry, I was actually in consulting, and I came out of an internal group within General Motors called the Strategic Decision Center. And one of the tasks I was assigned was to prevent knowledge collapse after a project. And so it sounds kind of crazy, but you got to document it. Because if you document it, then other people can read it. They can reflect on it and say, oh, you missed this, or you should really cover this, or that's slightly misstated. This is correct. And then you can iterate on it, and it creates, there's a paper called the Nonaka Spiral of Knowledge. That's what we're doing. I don't mention that initially in groups, in work groups, because it sounds a little bit geeky, but that's exactly what we're doing. If you document it, if you share it, if you iterate, if you enhance it, you build a body of knowledge. So I will tell the group that last year's discussion helped influence the content of one of the training modules in the Certified Automotive Remarketing program. We'll probably refresh that later in 2025. And the notes, or whatever version we're on from this past year, some of that material will be included there as well. And anybody else in the industry who wants to use it for training, for education, internally, or within their associations, are very much welcome to do it. No one really owns it. It's our collective information. So I documented it, I scribed it, but I shared it and encourage others to do the same.
If somebody wants a copy of this non-secret knowledge document, what can they do?
Send Jay $10. No.
There you go.
My email address is available. Your email. Anybody who has it can share it. So I think, Jay, maybe you could make the attendees and phone numbers or email addresses. But we want this information in as many hands as possible. And if we got something wrong, maybe it's not wrong. Maybe it's just your view is different, but we need to include your view, your perspective. And if anybody's interested in helping us make it better, that's why I really want to share it. So if you get it, it's just not for you to read, but I really want you to engage in it. And if we covered it thoroughly 100%, one, I'd be absolutely shocked, but let us know. But if there's more things, if there's things that we've missed, please help us build this up and please continue to share it. We'll always circle back at Used Car Week and have this discussion, but we can talk about it at NARS, we can talk about it at CARS, we can talk about it at any of the industry conferences. I'm ready, willing, and able to be involved because that's one of the things that I've been sanctioned for my company is help make this better for the industry. So I appreciate that latitude and I'm committed to it. We will make it better. The vision I mentioned earlier, that's not a pipe dream. That's not something for this show. That's what kind of drives me. I love crusades.
All right, then we dive in. What would you change first and why? Who wants to run with that?
I would take that. I just want to expand a little bit on what David said earlier. I mean, it's kind of just a no-brainer. What would I change? I would get the people from the different departments in the auto finance industry, the transport industry, the auction industry, the Ford industry, and let's actually put them in a room together. Now, we do get in a room together from each one of those spaces, but we don't necessarily typically get in a room together from the auto finance company with the remarketing space and the collection space. And let's be honest, they all have different agendas. I took the PDF from Used Car Week and look at when the clock starts, what the pause and delays are, and when the clock stops. And for those that haven't seen this worksheet that they were talking about, get it. But it's really interesting when you look at the recovery agent, the collections team, the remarketing team, the auction, and the transporter. They all have different pause, delays, and clocks, and they don't always align. To me, it's kind of a no-brainer. If we could get the right people in the right room, the vision that David talked about a little while ago is just going to happen. The reason it doesn't happen is it's so segmented between each group. That is what I would change first and why.
And I want to make very, very clear, I am definitely not one of the smartest people in the industry. I'm not even in the top 1,000, but I am a good listener. And I've been in that room twice with a group of really, really smart people. And as we listen, as we document, I mean, this stuff, I didn't know this stuff, 2-3 months ago. When we laid that out, believe me, the guy taking the notes and recording this stuff, I've been up on that learning curve. I've been pulling 2 Gs because there's so much to know about it. But once you see it, it's like, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever, just like Marcus pointed out.
One hurdle that I run across quite often, and I'm very new to the transportation side of the auction business. Like myself, inside the auction, sometimes we're very much in our own little box. Now that I jumped headfirst into that, I've experienced a lot of what you guys mentioned. I'd never worked with transporters. I've never worked with agents until now. And I'm fortunate now to have a relationship with my current carriers that help me qualify vehicles. Sometimes having that relationship with them, they're the boots on the ground for me. I don't always get the information needed provided from the consignor. And sometimes, that communication and that information that needs to be brought to light, and any information will help us carry to get these cars picked up in a timelier manner. A lot of the times we're getting assignments that say these cars run and drive, and we get there and it's a tuna can, and our transporters don't have the equipment to pick these up. One thing that I really that I've learned for myself through trial and error is the transporters and carriers I assign need to have good relationships with agents, and that communication with them, and that helps me communicate with my carriers, with the agents, and it's helped my timeline go from this being out this to a lot more manageable. But I think a lot of it comes down to auction houses are responsible for qualifying these units, and we're getting outdated information. Some of my points of contact haven't worked at these locations for 15 years. Then I just assign it to a carrier that has to go to a high profile location with a special chain of custody and all this other stuff that we didn't know about until we got there. And that makes that very difficult.
Jay, I think something you said earlier, I think is really crucial, that if we had transporters who were very specialized in transporting repossessions, and that would give them the relationships Tara was talking about, and that would make the process go smoother. That's not going to happen every time, but if there was just selected criteria for transporters for repossessions and make it a very much a specialty niche, I think that would help the process a lot.
Absolutely. The cooperation between the transporter and the agent is so important. We request our transporters to give us like an hour out when they're an hour to us. So we're prepared, we're ready to go. We can have that car released to them in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But if they don't cooperate, they don't come with the right equipment, sometimes we're dealing with the transporter for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours. They're coming in asking for a wrench or jumper boxes or something. They're just not prepared. And then it just slows down everything. Then sometimes after 3 hours, they go, we can't take it. And they leave it on the street and leave. It's getting everybody on the same page. The main thing that the client's got to do is the chain of custody. Marcus, I'm going to share a story that we had together last year, or actually it was this year. Marcus did a repossession for our company, and it was one of those times where he had instructions to release it to the auction, but he does the transporting for his vehicles to the auction. And the same day that he transported to the auction, the debtor was redeeming. The debtor redeemed at the auction, claimed lots of problems to it. And Marcus, I'll never forget what you told me. He goes, we're a video company that does repossession work. And and it's so true, because we have our trucks are completely videoing everything while we're transporting or towing that repossessed vehicle. And Marcus, he goes, give me a few minutes. And about 5 minutes later, he showed me the full from his lot to the auction, no issues on it. And it turned out that the auction was at fault at that point. So, but
the auction was at fault. Wow.
Yeah.
But it always, when there's damage, no matter what, it always goes back to the repossessor. It's always supposed to be the repossessor's fault when there's damage.
Yep.
I'm going to jump in now and say that I think one of the problems that I've seen is that oftentimes a good intentioned work group such as this then over time gets taken over by a group that in their own interest stifles the kind of conversation that is required to actually make progress. So there, I said it. I hope that never happens to this work group, because it's too important to get stifled by self-interest. And it's at risk every moment in this industry.
I don't think anybody's foolish enough to mess with Renee, so I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
Yeah, somebody said, I believe it was James Cargo, says I'm a pit bull. I'm sweet.
So this is a question for Mark and Marcus. Montway, we're a transporter, we're a broker. And so our sweet spot is moving cars 150 miles plus, because the local work should go with the local folks who have the right equipment, have the right relationships, et cetera, et cetera. How crazy would it be for a company like Montway is to give the recovery lot the right of first refusal to transport that vehicle to the auction if that's where it's supposed to go, and to let you guys utilize your equipment, your tow trucks, your rollbacks, et cetera. I know a lot of times the finance companies, they don't want to have all these broad relationships and all these touch points across the country. They'd rather deal with folks like us or forwarders who are going to make it right, sign the check, whatever needs to be done, make sure the proper insurance is there. So if they consolidate with us, but then us, instead of hiring somebody or from our network who does whole car moves, etc., if we just reached out to Recovery Lot and started to build our own relationships with those recovery lots and gave them the right, and certainly if they don't have the manpower or the equipment, if they're totally, going after cars to fill their lot, they don't have time to do it, we would totally understand. But if I was running a recovery lot, and I've never run one before, is I would think, when the trucks leave my lot, I want them to be full. I want to be making a delivery, making me money, and then loop back around and do whatever business they need to recover vehicles and make that more the norm. How crazy is that idea? Is that viable for most recovery yards, or is that pie in the sky thinking?
I couldn't say if it's viable for most, but I can tell you the industry is making a move towards that. And the reason being, in short, is we have more control. We have the ability to move those cars 24 hours a day. So our trucks can roll in and roll out without having office staff in the office. We also can control those moves in the manner of we know what it takes to move that car. So instead of showing up with a car dolly, we know that car is missing a wheel. It has to go on a rollback. That makes it easy for us. If you could build a relationship within the repossession space, I think that would probably be a very viable thing to do. Mark, you want to expand on that a little bit more?
No, I agree with you. We always try to, personally, we would rather take our cars that we repossess to the auction because we're not dealing with the transporter and having them come to our lot or release the cars. The only downside that we've had, our local auction about 3 or 4 years ago, or actually even prior to COVID, they used to take cars 24/7. Now they're just during the day, from these hours, from, I don't know, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, and half day Friday, and nothing on the auction day except for late afternoon. So you're limited and you're dealing with the traffic versus we used to be able to take it there at nighttime. The guys going out with the trucks, load them on up, drop some at the auction before you go, and then go pick up some more. So I don't know if your auction local is open 24/7 for delivery, or you got to deal with certain times.
We do see most of our auction are 24/7 down here in Charlotte area, anyway, Charlotte, North Carolina. But the other part of that, David, is if we can move those cars, and you alluded to it earlier, and I know that you guys talked about it at Used Car Week. If my lot will hold 100 cars and that car moves once a month, I can only repossess 100 cars. But the moment I can start moving those cars, and I can do it quicker than what can be done on a board by far. If I can triple that and I can move that spot 3 times in a month, I can now repo 300 cars on that lot. So for this purpose, if you could develop that relationship, it would be prudent.
I agree.
One of our strategic initiatives for 2025, and this isn't like secret sauce. This isn't like a Montway Auto Transport secret. Our competitors should be doing the same thing because it's in everyone's best interest. I understand things, from my years back with Volkswagen Credit, whenever you're handling a recovered vehicle, and I talked about this during the work group meeting, is, Volkswagen and Audi are 2 brands that are very, very lease intensive. Repossessed units represented maybe 5 or 10% of the vehicles that I had to, even think about or worry about. They just kind of got scooped up with everything else and sent there. And we didn't really have a lot of problems with it because, frankly, we had bigger fish to fry. We're at a really interesting time in the industry where lease returns are at record lows. And so the cars that can be focused on are the recovered cars. So we have this really cool window of time that we can improve this process and make it work better. And, so for the auto finance companies, whether they're OEM tied or maybe they're subprime or subprime, near prime, whoever they are, they've got to understand that when it comes to moving a recovered vehicle, they've got to resist the temptation to have it done for as cheaply as possible. That's when I think a lot of problems, a lot of variables are introduced that cause 80% of the frustration. So, when that happens, I think there needs to be just some education on that side. It's hard to resist. I know, some portfolios, depending upon the cars, your propensity, the likelihood that you are going to collect on that car when you sell it. Now, used car prices have come down a little bit. You're not going to make money on a repossessed car and send checks to the debtor. There's going to be a deficiency. And so the mindset, the old mindset, is to make the deficiency as small as possible by incurring as few possible costs. Don't detail the car, just wash and vac it, really, really quick. Minimize those expenses. But the area where you get penny wise and dollar foolish, I think, is in transportation. If you do not pay for a quality, reliable, safe, properly insured and trained transporter, and somebody shows up with inappropriate equipment, no experience, inappropriate insurance, it creates problems for everyone in the ecosystem, and it uses up too many resources. It's just not worth it. And I think we need to get that message out.
Jay, give that guy a clap. They're a little.
Well, man, I totally agree. I'm sitting here thinking, but how do you make that happen? How?
It boils down to what he just said. You proposed something earlier. What are clients most afraid to talk about? Well, it's easy. It's money. And let me expand on that just a little bit on what I mean and why it's a challenge, especially on the auto finance side of the industry. They want a very professional, educated agent in the field. They have the expectation on the agency to have a secured environment, giving the consumer the best experience possible under the circumstance. There's a major lender out there right now today in the auto finance world that their mantra is about the customer experience. That is more important to them really than repossessing the car. But said that, how do you do that, give the customer the best experience, when on the other side of the coin, they have an accounting budget that they have to hit, and those two things don't always align? The disconnect is the understanding of what the hard costs for the agency to make these things actually happen. So based on some of that, and based on what David had said earlier about changing the process and what that might look like over the next year, 2, 3 years, if I can just tell you from a process standpoint, one of the best clients that I have from a process standpoint is they'll repossess the car. On day 3, you automatically cut the key. Imagine that. Just automatically do it. And on day 7, you move the car to the auction. Bam, bam, bam. From a process standpoint, for any lenders that are on this call, that process standpoint makes the entire process from start to finish the best that I can possibly imagine.
So
there could be the nugget of the whole call, because if you're listening to this, if you're a transporter, share it with some of your customers or your clients that you're moving cars for. Hey, by the way, you might find this interesting, etc.
Yeah.
You got to communicate it to them, and you got to give them the ammunition. And sometimes if it's just one person in their company squeaking about it, it won't be taken serious. But I'll tell you, a recording of this discussing across the industry platform, all of a sudden that voice got a little bit louder.
Absolutely. And ask a transporter, would they rather recover or transport a car with keys that runs or no keys? They're going to choose the keys.
11 times out of 10, yes. So let's talk about keys real quick. From a recovery yard perspective, if a vehicle doesn't have keys and keys need to be cut, I know there's some third-party companies out there who would like to come on the lots and do and have bigger contracts with the finance companies or the transport companies. Some recovery lots, they do it themselves. It's an in-house thing, or they have a local vendor who they know and trust that is very responsive to their needs. What's best practice out there amongst, for getting replacement keys produced?
We do it in-house. If it's a dealer item, then we have to take the vehicle to the dealer. But at this time, we don't allow any outside key company to come on our lot to make a key on behalf of the lien holder or forwarder or transporter. It's an insurance liability effort, right, Renee?
Correct.
So
Correct.
that other locksmith comes out and damages the car next to it, and then we've got a situation that we really don't have time to deal with, but we have to.
And your insurance agent will tell you if that locksmith comes onto your lot, we need a site entry agreement signed. We need a certificate of insurance to verify he's got insurance, just like the transporters, because it is, like you said, a liability exposure for a third party to come on your lot.
Mm-hmm. And then somebody's got to watch them.
But this can be solved, because what we're talking about, am I right, is that further upstream there was the yes-no decision on making a key. If it can just be yes, then we can move this downstream to the semantics of insurance, etc. Not to minimize its importance, but we need a yes on the key outright.
You absolutely need a yes, Jay. And when you get downstream, you also start getting into SLAs and being able to hit those agreements. When you're waiting on locksmiths to come in, if they're being done after the fact, you have a locksmith coming to do a car. When you get to some of the larger lots, we may be cutting 20, 30, 40 cars a day worth of keys. But just from the SLA requirements, and if you think about it from a lender perspective on them trying to get the letter out to the consumer once the car is repossessed, it's all those dollars are factoring in, and I may be going a little bit off the rails here, but that's important that they get that letter out to the consumer within whatever the time limit is now, a day or 2 days or 3 days. It helps them calculate those fees. So 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, car's gone. It's a beautiful world.
Now,
let's talk a little bit more about the keys in a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
Mark, you'd mentioned if they were dealer keys. So dealer keys, just for the audience, those are cars that are produced by Audi, Alfa Romeo, BMW, Fiat, Jag, Land Rover, Range Rover, Maserati, Mercedes, Mini, Porsche, Tesla, VW, and Volvo. What that means is that to properly get those keys where they work, it has to go to a dealership. In most cases, if they're like VW and Audi, it has to be online, plugged into a computer directly with the factory, with the OEM, for that key to be properly produced. And if it's one of those brands, do not let, this is for the auctions, don't let that the finance company hold your feet to the fire because you're not meeting SLAs, because typically a dealer key, you need to transport it there. Believe me, they're not waving you in like you're returning a rental car to cut the key. You're going to park it, and how long do you have to wait for a dealer key to be cut? And then you have to go get it, right?
Sometimes we can get it done on the same day, but we're scheduling an appointment and handling it that way. But it's usually 24 to 48 hours.
But and that's
2 trips to the dealer.
Yes.
And truck. Yes.
Yeah, so there's a little bit involved there. So from an SLA perspective, I think you need to manage your SLAs and expectations. Don't let dealer keys be mixed in with the other ones, because those are the high hurdles. That's not low hurdles. Yeah. And I just wanted to get that out there because that's important. I know some of our customers, the auto finance companies, they would like us to coordinate it. So I think there, again, the aha moment for me, you guys are here, you don't realize it. I've got my master's already. I'm getting a new one in recovered vehicles, and you guys are my instructors, because to me, it's like, same thing, right of first refusal, contact the recovery yard. We need keys cut. Is that something you could do? Yes or no? Do you have a vendor that you know, love, and trust? Yes or no? Would it be okay if I bring a third party like Dent Wizard Key Division who's one of our strategic partners? And if I do, what paperwork, and this is homage to you, Renee, what paperwork, what do we need to do and have in place so that they can get there and it works efficiently?
Renee, it might be a good reminder for everybody that's insured with Harding Brooks. Send out a little reminder saying if you have a third party insurance or locksmith or transport company that comes on your lot, here's a form that you need to have them filled out, and you need their insurance information and forward to your office for review to make sure it's right.
And Renee, send me that and a copy of it with the explanation, and I'll make it an addendum to the work group document, living document.
Okay.
I think that'd be awesome.
That'd be good.
Will do. Will do.
Mark, how do you deal with these dealer keys where now more and more dealers are requiring title attached?
That's usually not an issue. We'll have the lien holder issue give us a copy of the title and authorization to make the key on their behalf, and we'll make it address it to whatever dealer that's doing the work. We've got a good relationship with the dealers that are doing the work for us, and they just need that for their file to go ahead and cut the key.
Yes.
You know, a while back, several years ago, we had the relationship go, here's the VIN, and they'd cut the key and say, come and get it.
Yeah.
That's gone.
Yeah, they don't do a lot of that anymore.
They don't do that anymore.
And you guys, I'm hearing a lot from your side, and my auction clock is still ticking for days to pick up. How long it's taking for the agent to get these keys cut and processed, and my days to pick up is still sitting way over here. And I'm calling the agent. Well, the key is not finished. The key is not finished. It'll be next Wednesday before the key's done. And the piece, like Dave's talked about, of this puzzle, a lot of people don't know until that these pieces don't come together, and we don't understand what it takes. And I rely so heavily on the agents to hurry up and get these keys cut, because I'll be honest with you, I prefer to have the agent have the key, because then when that comes to me and that car is now operable,
you can start your condition report instead of
move through its process a lot faster. And now that may have taken my days to pick up a little bit longer, but it's shortened my days to sell.
Absolutely.
And that goes back to what Jay said earlier about it being a yes upstream. If the yes is upstream, and we know on day 3, day 5, whatever it is, take me, for example, we have 2 locksmiths, one that's at our corporate headquarters and one that's in a van that goes around other lots. Inevitably, if we're waiting on a key approval, we're waiting on the yes. We get the key approval on Wednesday, but the locksmith, the guy that was in the van, was at that lot on Tuesday. He is at a different lot on Wednesday. If we know when those approvals are happening, we can then position where our locksmiths are going to go from a logistical standpoint. But when we're waiting on a yes, it's not true, but it always feels like the yes comes one day late, right? And now we're playing backtrack, because in my particular case, we have 6 lots, 6 locations he has to go to. Can't get to but maybe 2 in a day. So it may be 2 days before he can get back to lot 1. That kind of goes to that yes upstream would be the ideal situation in most circumstances.
Yeah, and it's important to know that the reason why there is at least those 3 days is ideally you have that consumer who has the keys, maybe has both keys, and they can come in with the keys, they can pick up their possessions, trade it, however that transaction works, and it saves that, and it gets them to pick up their personal possessions. You guys don't have to keep track of it. Part of that's just education and awareness. The other thing, Tara, is I'll say you as a former commercial consignor, is do the best you can to push back, when your clock starts. Your clock shouldn't start when it was assigned to you for a recovered vehicle. It should start first available date, which means it has keys, it runs, it operates, etc. At that point, the days to pick up becomes important, and then use first available date to date sold for your days to sale. Now, I'm reasonable about that now because I don't have any cars to remarket, but that's really the more reasonable approach that a lot of the remarketers should understand. And I think part of it is if you can get a couple of them doing that and sharing it, the coolest thing about the remarketing industry is when I was in that game directly as one of the players with the VW and Audi portfolio, is the folks at GM and Chrysler and Ford, BMW, I mean, Mercedes, we all shared notes. We shared best practices because frankly, we're not competing against one another. We have more in common with one another than anybody else who worked for our company because we are in the remarketing space, which is a pretty unique niche. And so, for anybody who's listening, if you're a finance company, any of the stuff you start doing, this is not crazy stuff. This is truly best practices. And if you're going to be an outstanding employee for your employer, you need to be learning, growing, adopting best practices and advocating for them. And now you've got some information that you can share. I hope you do.
That's where that comes back to consignors should be qualifying these units prior to assigning them. Where we find the auction house is qualifying a lot more vehicles and not aware of what's going on.
Sometimes, Tara, you got a situation where the auction calls and they want to schedule to pick up the car on Thursday. Well, we've got an appointment scheduled for the debtor to come turn in their keys on Friday. The client says, hold off, the debtor's going to come in on Friday. And then they don't show up on Friday. They call Monday and go, I'm coming in tomorrow. In the meantime, transporter wants to pick up. And lien holders going, how come it's not released? And we're going, you said wait for them you don't want us to make the keys. So we're waiting for them to come turn the keys in. So everybody gets delayed.
Mm-hmm. In the SLA that exists for auctions for days to pick up, days to sale, guess what? Transporters have SLAs too. From when we get assigned to pick it up. But what Mark just described.
Oh, I know.
That's
where our remarketing side kicks in, and we're going, how come this car hadn't been picked up? We sent it on auto IMS 2 weeks ago. Why isn't it picked up?
Yeah, there's usually a story. It's not because nobody wants to move it, but then on the other side, sometimes with these pause starts, things slip between the cracks.
This is where our situation, being the hybrid of a repo possessor and the forwarder, we can contact. We're contacting the auction and the repossessor at the same time. So we're hearing, I go, Marcus, how come this car's not released? No one's called us. So we go back to the auction.
I think David, that goes back to your data accuracy and your technology automation opportunities.
Oh, absolutely. Having one central source for the for the information, highly reliable, that we can all lean on. We talked about it in the room when we had the discussion. We had Jordan from RDN there, and we also had some folks from MBSI there. So those are both two players who work in the data space here. I think companies need to really work with them and figure out, maybe they can't have things exactly as they want it, but we need to work really hard. We started in this document to define some key gates, some key times, some key criteria that should be adopted uniform. You can always have more. I mean, some companies like to have more of this because we've always done it this way. But what are the essential things? And if we had more in common as far as the essentials, it would make things easier. I mean, the auctions did this years ago when they came up with their silver, gold, and platinum certifications. They said, look, we're confusing the crap out of these dealer buyers when different consignors have different programs, blah, blah, blah. And if we can just standardize it, I think as a whole, the industry benefits. And if you want to deliver above and beyond, awesome. But let's standardize things. So that's one of the things I hope by the time we get to Used Car Week next week or next year in 2025, that we've got these standards already established. And the way to make them stick is to work closely with the RDNs and the MBSIs of the world so that those are the data elements collected. And then just do, I guess, little pockets of excellence within all the verticals and just start growing it, pushing it, growing it, pushing it. And I really think we can change things.
So I don't know if this is possible, but on that note, what I wonder is if there's a way to bake in appointments during the dispatch. It sounds complicated, and I don't want to ask too much, but what I've seen is transporter gets the dispatch, and then time goes by before they go to set an appointment because they don't realize that that appointment is a really important moment in picking up the car. Transporters, if given the ability, they'll set an appointment right before they go pick it up, which actually makes no sense in an appointment system. You need to set an appointment as soon as possible, not as late as possible. But there's no urgency for the transporter because their schedule's so, and this is what makes appointments hard to schedule.
Yeah, well, you think about it from the transporter standpoint, and this is, we talked earlier about maybe there are some who need to specialize in these types of moves. But oftentimes, like we move a lot of cars for consumers, and they want to schedule it like 2 months ahead of time. And we're like, yeah, we can't assign that to a transporter 2 months ahead of time. They work like, this is my work week. This is what I'm going to do this week. And we can say, yeah, you're on our board. We'll definitely take care of it. We'll make it happen. But they operate in relatively short time windows. So scheduling these appointments, it's something that sometimes we as a broker will schedule the appointment, and then we'll do the hand holding or the coaching or cajoling, whatever we need to get the carrier who's going to pick up the car to be there at the time of the appointment. It's a lot easier for a shorter move. It's a lot more challenging for the longer moves and the more remote moves. And sometimes, those are especially challenging. One of the things, as long as I'm saying unpopular things that people are going to get mad about, is I really think that there needs to be almost like a scorecard for the different recovery lots. Yes, they cut keys. Yes, they have equipment they can move. And yes, you can make appointments. This is how you make appointments. And all that information needs to be consolidated in a warehouse, and a rating needs to be there. Is this a 5-star lot, a 4-star yacht, a 3-star, or 2-star? And it can only be evaluated by the people who actually engage and do business with that lot. And that way you reward, the companies like Mark's company and Marcus's company. Those guys are a standout. And then you get the finance companies who say, no, we prefer to work with those guys. We're going to direct business that way. And that's going to drive it. And I know that there's some old school ways to do recovery and some people with different resources, they've just got to come up to speed. And if they don't, then they'll move the lesser cars for the smaller finance companies. But if you want to play in the big leagues, you got to step up. Does that sound too crazy? Am I going to get beat up at NARS this year, Marcus? Or are you going to have my back?
Sounds like an auction scorecard.
We get scored on everything that we do, to be honest with you. So being scored in one more area is not going to be unusual, but at all. I don't know of an area we're not scored in.
But those scores, who's doing the scores? Is it just with the individual clients?
Yeah, the client scores.
They do their own. Okay.
Yeah, no, the client scores us. We don't really get scored by the auction. It would be interesting to see what that looks like. But let me throw this out there, and I'm sure I wasn't at the meeting at Used Car Week, but imagine this. You did bring up RDN. Now, granted, it's only as good as the input of the data put into the system. But today, the auction has the ability to go in and see in real time where we are with the key, where we are in the disposition of the car ready to leave. The transporter has the ability today to go online, make an appointment, see pictures of the car today. When they get their bill of lading in, they go onto the website, they punch it in the VIN number, they can see a picture of the car, the status of the key, the disposition, everything they need to know about that vehicle they can look at and then make the available appointment to come and get the car. Now, if we could get everybody in the world to utilize that system, then I think you would have a much more harmonious situation.
So can you score the transport?
Whoa! Let's
I
not
know,
get
right?
crazy here,
Hey,
Jay.
we're all in the business of saying unpopular things.
Sure. I mean, that could be done. And I don't know who said it earlier, but somebody said earlier, having relationships with the transporter and the repossession company is vital. We have a couple of transporters that come and pick up from our lot on a daily basis. Those folks that are at our lot every single day, they understand the process and the nuances of what needs to happen. I would tell you right now, if they were to score me, they would give me a 5-star all day, every day. But they're at our lot every day. The ones that we have the most problems with, and I'm sure Mark can say the exact same thing, are the guys that are coming in to do the one-off, right? They were at the Ford dealership and then the Nissan dealership and the Toyota dealership, and then they come get the car at the repo lot. Well, it's a completely different experience. But that guy or that company that is coming to our lot on a regular basis knows how to deal within the repossession space. And it's a breeze for them.
Yep.
There's an opportunity there, Marcus.
Yes.
For that transporter, right? That he's an educator now. And we can leverage their knowledge to explain to other transporters what the standard really should be.
For sure.
Transportation broker's standpoint is I want to call those recovery yards. I want to give them a chance to move the cars themselves if they have the equipment and the wherewithal. If not, my next question is, who do you know, love, and trust that I should be calling next and add to my carrier network? And that when I do have vehicles that need to be picked up at any of your lots, that those are the guys that I call so that it works more seamlessly and harmoniously. That's not the notes from Used Car Week, but I like that better, harmoniously.
Take it.
I agree, David. That's how I've worked with a lot of and gotten a lot of my good transporters is calling the agent and they already have those relationships built with these transporters, and it lives harmoniously.
So, each agent knows the good transporters and the bad ones. And each transporter knows the good repo agents and
But
the bad agents.
the transporters, new transporters entering the market right now, a guy just got his truck. And he's going to book a load tomorrow that really doesn't know much about that load other than there's money attached to it. He's got a space on his truck. He or she is going to go to a repo lot tomorrow and totally whiff that deal.
100%.
And it's going to happen the next day and the next day and the next day.
And pick up the car with the e-brake secured, all-wheel drive, and no keys.
Oh, and the wheels turn.
Yes.
Jay, I think that sounds like a show that you could have a couple of these gentlemen on where they really talk about best practices, not only what to do, but why that's so important, and record that and disseminate that among transporters. I think there's a real opportunity with that. Just
and
little
there will
nugget.
be 2 views, me and you. No, I know. No,
You can't think that way.
Well, I don't want to.
No, you don't want to. If you do it that way, you could even maybe work with the ARA to produce a video. I mean, the one that I saw at NARS last year about how things work really from ground floor to recovery yard, I thought that was brilliant. And some of it was new to me, not a lot, but I got permission from Vaughn Clemens to show that internally to our internal dispatching team. They were jaws dropping. They had no idea. And I think this is a good platform. The different industry associations are great organizations to produce these education materials and get them in the right hands so people view them. And there's going to be some people who never view them, and shame on them.
Well,
but there's going to be a lot of people generally want to do a good job. I really believe that.
I agree with that. And it's an ongoing conversation. One of the things I say to people when it comes to videos, topics, presentations, etc., is you never just do it and you're done. That is once. You just keep doing. You have to keep giving that presentation, spreading the word. There's a reason we take history 12 years of our lives.
Like it.
Okay. We are at 8:30. 8:15 was the goal. We're past our goal. Yet, there's so much left to do. So what we'll do is let's do some final thoughts as we look ahead to the next iteration of Transporting Recovered Vehicles Work Group. Who has a final thought?
I have.
Okay, great.
I just wanted to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, be safe, enjoy a little bit of downtime. We've all worked very hard throughout the year. I think it's been a good year. Hopefully next year is even better. I appreciate the friendships across the industry, and this is a really great panel you put together. So thank you, Jay, for doing that.
Very nice.
Thanks, Dave.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
Happy holidays.
That was it. That was
Yes.
he did it there. He said what needed to be said. So thank you all so much for your time tonight. I look forward to connecting with you again. If there's something I can do to help, please let me know. Dave, Renee, Marcus, Mark, Tara, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Good
Jay.
seeing everybody. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas,
Bye.
everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right, and that's a cut. Okay. It's neat that I know Renee really loves the fact that it was over a year ago, about a year and a half ago, or more, that we started planning that first panel at Used Car Week 2023. It was a good panel. It was a great meeting the next day. Then we had a greater panel this year in 2024, and another great meeting the next day, and now this Transporting Recovered Vehicles Workgroup show, where I'm able to email out a summary. If you want a copy of the summary, please do let me know. If you talk to somebody that wants a copy of the summary, please do let me know. It's autotransportintel@gmail.com. Thank you so much for jumping into the live chat and being a part of this conversation. It is very important, and it needs to remain an open forum where ideas, no matter how crazy or who's going to get upset, if it's truth and it needs to be discussed, man, let's talk about it. That's what this channel was built for. Thank you so much, Superflow Systems, Murphy Auto Transport Services, ClearPath TMS, Auto Haul Exchange, and Draver. And thank you all my guests tonight. Thank you all so much. Happy holidays. We're almost there. I got the craziest show Thursday. I'm still working on this thing. I'm going to be working on it till I go live at noon on Thursday. Be sure to check out Industry Logistics this Thursday. It is going to be a knockout program. So, and then I'll see you, man. Do you know that Tuesday's Christmas Eve and Tuesday's New Year's Eve? So I got to do shows on those days too. But I'll go live at noon, be a short show. All right, I've overstayed my welcome. I'm running the car hauler. Thanks again. Really appreciate you. If you haven't left a like, please do that. Thank you. We'll see you soon. Here, take care.